just before we start, just going to give a brief overview of the course. So the course today is being delivered under the WellComm Active Initiative, which is an exciting new health and wellbeing initiative running in Cork. The overall aim of WellComm Active is to empower people to manage their own health and to promote self-care within the community. So through the initiative, we're providing community programs and resources to support people with healthy eating and active living, as well as injury and illness prevention. And WellComm Active is a joint collaboration between the Cork Sports Partnership and Cork Kerry Community Healthcare, and it's funded through Sláinte Care. The Get Active Keep Well course, it also aligns with the national Keep Well campaign that's running at the moment through Sports Ireland and Healthy Ireland, that some of you may have come across already. So with all of that said, I'll move on to the topic of today's course and introduce you to our guest speaker, who is Bridget Liston. Bridget has worked in the fitness industry for the past 17 years. She's a qualified fitness instructor and a personal trainer. She's also a tutor for both the National Training Centre and for ourselves here in the Cork Sports Partnership. So as you can see, there's no end to the strings on Bridget's bow. And the topic Bridget will be speaking on today is around building your physical activity routine.
Thanks, Owen, and thanks for the introduction. It's a privilege, to be honest, to be asked to do something like this and to speak to you all about, I suppose, this building your physical activity routine. I suppose I won't add too much to what Owen has said, just simply that, can I say first from the outset that building your physical routine, you're the expert on this. I'm going to help you as regards signpost you towards, I suppose, things and ways and, you know, that you can optimize your engagement in physical activity. But I do really want to say that I want you to think about this for yourself very much so tonight, so that, you know, maybe for the upcoming sessions, whichever ones you've logged into or hope to join, that you can maximize those, having a little plan made maybe, or some ideas tapped into from tonight. I suppose my areas are very widespread. I work as a part-time fitness instructor. I have a lot of Pilates and yoga and all of that behind me. The areas for the sports partnership that I've been involved in have been Project Weight Loss and Staying Fit for the Future largely, and also the neurofunctional training program. So I have a kind of a very big mix of engaging with people to be active in the best way possible for themselves, most importantly. And like I said, you're the expert. So this is about building your daily routine, isn't it? For that is different for everybody. And that is why I'm saying that you are the expert. You know, I can give you tips, but really building your routine is about planning, because you already are in routines. Possibly maybe by logging into this particular program, you have the idea that, you know, maybe there's something I want to get changed. In other words, that I'd like to be more active. So planning it and putting that change into motion is really what, you know, it's all about. So we're covering the blue one today, if you like, building the routine. The getting active is, I think, Mark's one. You have mind your well-being coming up also, and healthy eating, and also family play. So that's just a little snapshot of what's coming up over the coming weeks. And just within all of those things, remembering that it's trying to keep the balance of all of these things is really important. And, you know, balance is, you know, twofold, but there are so many things in our lives nowadays. So keeping the balance of all of them. So bite size is really what I always say to people, and your own self-reflection on, you know, what you can do better for yourself. So I suppose certainly from my own perspective, you know, I think over the years I've learned that change is just inevitable. It's something that we come up with and come against all the time. I think the past year has shown us this so much, but really we can grow, you know, and we can take the growth from the changes that we make, bearing in mind that we'll probably fail many times, you know, in the process of that change. So I suppose that's where the growth comes in, isn't it? You know, that, you you know, we may not get the structure and the routine right immediately. We might plan something and it may not happen. However, what did we learn from that failure of not completing something? And this is where self-reflection is a huge part of, and also the planning of it is a huge part of how we can grow and make change in our lives, you know. So, and that's some of the part that I'm going to discuss, if you like, further. So it's a huge chance. And I would say to you that, you know, even if you have failed before in getting more active, it's not now. You know, it's not now. It's right now. You have a chance to make a change, and remembering that it doesn't happen overnight. You know, and that's the nice thing about the sequence of the weeks that is planned for this program. You have a huge opportunity to engage with really good advice, and to take exactly what you need from all of the presenters, if you like, to get exactly what you want, you know. And just remembering that, you know, maybe hearing it and not taking action is just a reminder that you can't get somewhere without basically, we cannot become what we want by remaining what we are. So like making a change will means that, you know, yeah, you've got to take an action, you know, and it's a reminder of that, I think. And, you know, how you're going to do that, the way you're going to do that, you know, you get to decide for yourself. Now, I'm going to ask Owen to simply put up a little poll on the screen here for you. And this little poll is something that I want you to complete, if you can, on your device. Okay? And these are scaling questions. These are what we use in Project Weight Loss to discuss with, I suppose, individuals how they feel about something, you know, as in, you know, how important it is to them, how confident they feel about making this change to their routine, and how motivated they are. There are 3 questions on this. And all I simply want you to do is just take the little poll. So if you can do that, that will be great. What's great is, from what I can see, this is really important to everybody. This is good. So, you know, it's somewhat important or extremely important for most. So it's extremely important for, wow, a lot of people. That's super. How confident you are. I'm glad to see that there's less of the not at all confident. That's really good. A lot of you are sitting in the middle. That's great. And it's very much 50-50 on motivation. Okay. Hence probably logging into something like this. You really want to, I suppose, source the tips, get the help with it. And thank you very much, Owen, for doing that. That's super. Thank you. So it's extremely important to you, 78% of you. So, and I suppose that comes from, as we know, that being more active is a huge part of, and building our routine is a huge part of having an influence over the rest of our lives. When we feel strong within ourselves, when we're fitter within ourselves, when we have more clarity of thought, we can be more productive in our daily lives. You know, so I think that's it shows in how important, I suppose, this change is for you. And be that maybe it's really the healthy eating you're working towards or whatever, but you've logged in tonight about, you know, building that physical routine also. And I'm glad to see that, you know, you're also somewhat confident about it, which is brilliant. That's great. And, you know, yeah, there's a few more on this somewhat motivated now. There's about 56%. So that's great. Okay, good. We're going to move on from that to the next one. That's great. So one of the ways in which, I suppose, making that change is possible is that, you know, you need to make a goal. And right now, I suppose it's very typical in the new year to make goals. I'm not a huge, you know, I don't think we need to think longer term. That's why I've put on this that you need to have, you know, to make a simple goal for yourself that's short and concise, if you like. So it's for this week. you know, kind of thing. Now, bearing in mind that you might have it in your head that you would like to be fitter to, for example, be able to complete a couch to 5K, or maybe you have it in your mind that you would like to, you know, drop some dress sizes, or be, you know, let the jeans fit tighter, or, you know, feel better on you, decrease your weight overall, change your body composition, change your muscle mass. It might be in the bigger picture, but in getting there, you need to look at the physical routine and the physical activity routine that you have right now. Now, I'm going to literally do a little, and it's going to be short. It's going to be a 5-minute thing here. And for now, I want you to literally sit, have a pen and paper, if possible, right alongside you. If you need to go and get it, go get it. That's absolutely fine. But I want you to have a pen and paper, because I'm going to get you to sit with your own ideas for a little while, okay? But I'm going to use a little yoga tool of just sitting, settling, breathing, and letting you mull through your ideas yourself. Okay, so I'm going to slow down a little bit now just here on this slide. Okay, so for those of you who are tuned in, I want you to simply just sit, but definitely to put your feet on the ground. Just put your feet on the ground. Okay. If at all possible, I want you to sit tall. Okay, so just to sit tall and to simply sit well, whatever that means. So simply that your pelvis is well supported, that your back is supported. On the screen, I'm showing you something which is called a hand mudra. So you can see that I have put my thumb, my middle finger, and my ring finger, thumb, middle finger, ring finger together. And these other two are like pointed away. Okay, so that's the shape of the hands. All right. So all I'm going to get you to do is just simply place the back of your hands in that shape that you have it right now, which is called Pradaya Mudra. It's a mudra from yoga. Just literally rest your hands on your thighs like that. Okay. Now, for now, by the way, this is going to be maximum 5 minutes, and I have a clock I'm watching here. So, you know, you don't need to think this is going to last too long. All right. Okay. So from there, what I'm going to ask you to do now is just have your head over your spine. Okay. And just simply close your eyes. It will be for a short time, remembering that. Okay. Ideally, I'd like you to close your lips. In other words, that your nose is the passage that's being used for breath. So just to begin with, just feel your feet on the ground. You don't need to do anything else. Just feel your feet on the ground. Feel your legs. So that means from your ankles up to your knees. From your knees to your hips. So your thighs, front, back, sides. Feel the trunk of your body, just your trunk, just the whole trunk. So that means from your shoulders all the way down to your hips. Keep the shoulders nice and soft. Let them decrease right down if you like, or depress right down into the hip area if you like. So they really settle. Feel the contact that you've made with those fingers. And this is called Pradaya Mudra, which is just simply a heart mudra. And the mudras in the hands, they just simply allow you to redirect your energy towards yourself. That's all. That's what they're about. Experience the neck, the head, and the face. Experience the whole body, just as it is. You don't need to move it. And if you have to move, that's perfectly fine. I want you to notice the passing breath that's coming and going. Nothing to do about it initially. And then as you're sitting, I want you to engage in a practice called just simply belly breathing All that simply means, without complicating it, you simply take your breath in through your nose and breathe out through your nose again. Your goal is to allow your breath to fill up the area that's behind your belly button, if you like, and below it. When you breathe in, your belly will move forwards. When you breathe out, your belly will draw back. And you're going to just do that for the next few moments. It will be quite short again, but just see, can you allow yourself to belly breathe? So as your breath leaves this time, I want you to just now focus away from breathing towards your thoughts. And I want you to allow all of the ideas that you have about tonight to float through the mind. So it's like you're watching a cinema screen and you're thinking and considering all of your ideas about your physical exercise or physical activity routine. There's tasks to do, maybe. There's ways in which you need to get towards your goal. There are ideas. There are options. There are ways that you have thought about being more active. Allow them to flood the landscape of the mind. You will notice that your mind won't stay with those ideas for very long. They'll have gone off doing 100 other things. That's perfectly fine. Just come back and then come back towards the topic of your physical routine. That activity that you consider doing, that change of intensity, that change of frequency, hopefully, of activity that you have planned. Okay. Just as you have turned, if you like, the spotlight on those ideas and thoughts and images that have flown through your mind, now change the spotlight towards your breathing, towards your body, and just gently take the contact away between your thumb, ring, and middle finger. And then you can make a little smile, because it's always nice to smile when you're finished something that's quite relaxing. And I want you now, with that pen and paper, keep it handy. Okay, because we're going to talk about my goal for week 1 is, if you like. And the way that you engage with making a goal is through the SMART principle. And this is really common and you've all heard it many times, okay? Now, the next couple of slides are about this, are about how to really make a goal that fits for you. So the first thing is, obviously, it needs to be specific. And in being specific, you obviously will select the type of activity, be that, you know, the walking or the cycling, or if you're doing some of the sea swimming or whatever at the moment. Maybe you're engaged in an aerobics class via Zoom, maybe doing some classes engaged, you know, online. So you've got to be specific about what it is that you're going to do. Yeah. The measurable is going to be your decision on how are you going to measure it. Is it going to be determined by the amount of engagement you have with it? Is it once a week? Is it twice a week? Or are you measuring it maybe by, you know, the time length that you put into your activity every week? And most importantly, when you select this goal, it needs to be achievable. Yeah. So that, you know, right now, for example, if you're somebody who is simply active for 2 days a week, and I have had this so much over the years that, you know, somebody says, I'm going to do 5 days, but I'm only doing 2 days right now. that's pretty much doubling and more what you are doing right now. That's really setting yourself up for, I suppose, a task that's not achievable. So it's really important that you make something bite-sized for you. So if, for example, it was 2 days a week that you're currently doing, first of all, that you can complete that each and every week. And from there, if you're going to improve on that, that improvement is small. So that would start with maybe increasing it just to 3 days per week. So it's achievable. And there are many reasons for this as regards, making sure that, you're not going to get injured, that you're not taking too much ahead of yourself, but most importantly, that you don't knock your ability to achieve something that you can feel really good about when you achieve it. And that is inherently linked to the reality of, we might say that we might want to do it 5 times per week, but the reality is we might get it done 2 or 3 times per week. Is really what it boils down to, because when we fit it into our actual timetable. And that is linked obviously then to the timing of it. How are we timing it? How is it timed for you? Is it on how much time investment that you actually put into it? Or is it that you have an overall aim of, a goal of exercise or activity in the week? Okay. So that is the SMART principle. And it is, I'm sure every single one of you on this call has absolutely heard something about that over time and over the years that, you're engaged in activity, or maybe you're just starting off. It just depends on the individual, I suppose, firstly. Now, I'm simply putting up this one also, and I'm sure, I think Claire will probably be sharing the PowerPoint anyway at the end. So it's just to have another option with how the SMART principle can be, how you could fill it out, and I suppose outside of the SMART principle and how it's asked here, you can see the questions are just basically broken down again. What specifically am I trying to achieve? How will I measure success? What steps do I need to take to attain the goal? Is this relevant for my long-term objectives? And is this the right time for me to do it? And what's the time frame for the goal? Now, one of the most important, and I think overlooked aspects, definitely, of making a goal, and I have seen this myself and made the mistake definitely in the earlier years, is in making a goal, one of the most important things, and I'm sure the guy who's talking about the mental health aspect of things will mention this also, is in order for something to manifest, if you like, come true, be a reality in your life, you need to be writing your goal, and this is really important for everybody, in the present tense. Okay? Now, that seems kind of illogical, doesn't it? So if I'm currently only doing, for example, 2 days a week, right? And that's my activity routine. But my goal is 4 times per week, right? And I'm saying I am exercising. You're going to be writing, for example, I am exercising, or I am active 4 days per week. Your logical mind is playing the game, but that's not true. However, what you've got to remember is that we have to work with the different aspects of the mind. And really what you're talking about is you're working with the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the part of the mind that basically can be fooled, if you like. And I'll use the expression that a very good woman told me at one point, you fake it till you make it with this kind of thing. Because if I'm saying to myself, I am active 4 days per week, the way my tasks and day-to-day routine will work is I will follow that by default. Okay? So I just want to make it very clear that when you make a goal, even though it's not true right now, you have to write it and experience it that it is true in this moment, so that you can bring it to fruition. And what happens with that is you trick, you play a game, you imagine, you feel, and suddenly the day that you don't necessarily feel like being active, you grab the gear. You take the raincoat. It's a crap day outside and you go, I'm going to go because this is my day to be active. Okay. So that comes from many different, it's part of psychology, it's part of yoga, it's part of meditative type work as well. So that basically it's that we work with the subconscious mind. We make it true right now. We feel it in the moment. I'm picturing myself being active, what it's going to be like when I create more activity in my life, what that benefit will be. And basically we fall and follow what we are visualizing and imagining. So there's huge benefit to writing that goal in the present tense. I suppose from my perspective, certainly it's something I didn't do for a very long time. It was always, I was writing in the future, certainly with, keeping activity diaries and keeping food diaries and all the rest of it. Whatever about the food diaries, that was obviously in the present tense, but an activity diary where I wanted to get somewhere, I was future proofing. It was out there. I wasn't owning it enough. And when I began to own it, that this is the way it is now, it changed then the course of the day to day. So it has much more resonance, I suppose, is the other part of it. So there's huge positives in it, and it certainly turned things around for me in a very different way that I wasn't expecting, certainly. Okay, I think I've harped on about the SMART goal pretty much. The other important bit on the next slide here is just that when you're picking your goals, and sometimes it can be hard, right? Because I know for me, over you have all these highfalutin ideas about what I'm going to do, and you have to narrow them down. And even though it's just a simple image, I do think that it captures the most important bit is that every single one of you on this call have massive strengths, okay? Strengths. And that strength might be around routine or not. Or it might be about, that you're great at recording. But you know yourself that you might be, 3 weeks down the line, you're not so good, and that's your downfall. But there are certainly parts of everybody that are their strengths. So when it comes to your physical routine, the first thing is do what you enjoy, right? So if I went down through everybody on the call and I asked you, what do you like? That's what lights everybody up. Do what you like. It's the simplest thing in the world. And very often we think that the most difficult thing is the thing that we should do because it needs to be hard for it to work. That's not true. Actually, it needs to be doable and enjoyable and achievable. That's so important. Yeah. Because if we enjoy it, we're actually building towards what we want, which are our hopes and aspirations for ourselves. Yeah. So, you might want to be more active, and that's a huge part of what you're really motivated about, obviously, and to make a change and be more active. But in order to do that, you have to remember that if you are even more active on one day of the week, you're adding to your goal, you're adding to your feeling of well-being, you're adding to your feelings of self-confidence in your ability to achieve your goal. So every step where you take something that you enjoy, you light yourself up, and that's really important because resilience in the times that we're in right now is just so important. So if in any way where you can feel better just for 10 minutes in the day, for 20 minutes in the day, whatever it is, it's going to help you feel better. Also emphasizing the positive. So it does not matter if you know, you're the person sitting on the call and you're going, I'm active 1 day a week. There's nothing wrong with that. You are active. You're doing it 1 day in the week. Okay. So how can you build it? You could probably do 2. That would be your first step. But just remember that you're doing something. So emphasize what you are doing. And this is kind of bringing me towards the next step in the process, which is all about that you need to track what you're doing. That is one of the most self-motivating and rewarding aspects of your progress in being physically active. It is the key to it, in my point of view. Certainly from my own experience in the fitness industry, that's what I've learned over time, that actually if we can self-reflect on how we're doing ourselves in, you know, working towards your own individual goal, we can learn and we can grow and we can aspire and we can achieve. That's for sure. And the self-tracking, or the way that you're going to do this, you have many options. So I know that I suppose I'm going to leave this up for a little while because I'll discuss and go through. So I suppose at the end of this, I know that I've sent a couple of sample toolkit things that I feel are important. So with the sports partnership in my work, for example, one of the projects is Project Weight Loss. And as the 12-week program runs, the participants are asked to track, obviously, their food and their activity over the 12-week period. It's an engagement of 2 sessions per week over a 12-week period. And I have to say, I've been involved in the program just recently, and then I was involved in actually when it was set up at the very, very start, and the very, very kind of opening chapters of it, if you like. And I have to say that the biggest learning curve for every single participant was the diaries. And I think, you know, be it that, you know, some people may not have had the physical literacy. So obviously they learned from the physical participation also. However, the food and activity diary was the way in which the individuals empowered themselves. That was the key. And so my first suggestion on this would be that, you know, start. If you're just not somebody who does it, yeah, you start. And I will go through in the following up slides here about how to do that, as in, you kind of go, well, if I'm going to write down what I'm going to do or what I'm doing, how do I write it? You know, like, how do I write it? What's it about? So we'll talk about that in the upcoming slide. I've just said here that obviously it can be digital or written. Nowadays, sure, everything is nearly digital. Do it the way that fits you best. Yeah. In other words, that, you know, if you find that writing it physically is better for you, do it that way. But make sure that it's every single day. Yeah, that you write what you have done, be that the step counting, be that the physical activity, and I'll talk about how you outline it. If it's digital, it's the same, it's no different. You know, be it an Excel sheet, a calendar tracker, your phone, it doesn't matter, but you record it. The likes of the apps, like them, I've just put examples up there of MyFitnessPal is the most common. There are people with Garmin watches and Vivo Actives and Fitbits and everything. All of those have their relevant downloads to computers. Use them. Yeah, because they're really good tools. Yeah. And what they give you is the reflection back to you of what you have done over a 7-day period or a month-long period. And you really need to see this, because this is the only way that you can start, assess, how much am I doing? What is the way and the intensity in which I'm doing it? What's the frequency of it, the length of time that I'm doing it for? And that's what we're going to go on to in a moment or two as well. And if you need, for example, to set your daily reminders on your phone or your laptop or your tablet, or, you know, to get up off the chair, to go for the walk for the 10 minutes at the break, to, especially for nowadays, for, you know, the people working at home, torture, like it's got to be torture, I think. You know, so going and leaving the desk, the reminder on the screen, walk for 15 minutes, come back. Because the reality is you will do a better job when you sit down again. There's nothing truer than that, you know. And then the other thing is that, you know, we're all blessed with people that we know, thankfully, that are all probably interested in similar things to us, thankfully. So, you know, like generally, if you say to your mate, listen, this 10,000 steps a day is like the biggest challenge for me to do. But listen, will the two of us try and get this done every day? Well, I'm sure your mate or your friend or your family member or the person in your support bubble is just going to jump at the chance, because nowadays, I'm telling you, nobody's got nothing to talk about anyway. You know what I mean? So we're going to be talking about exercise, or, you know, just what we're having to eat or drink. That's kind of what's happening, isn't it? So like chatting to somebody about, you know, what your activity is kind of like, yeah, they'll be delighted. So, you know, set up a WhatsApp group, do whatever it is that, you know, is going to engage somebody else, because it really does help when we engage another individual. Yeah. Now, this is the next two slides, part of the next, well, certainly a bit of the next slide is about just simply how to record that. So you can see at the top there, I've mentioned, this is just simply a bit of a snapshot from January, you know, the dates, the days, there's nothing radical about this. This is boring stuff. Yeah. So, you know, all you simply would put in here, if, for example, right now, you don't even know, or you're not assessing right now, for example, how many steps you do every day. So I suppose the goal is, firstly, how many are you doing? As in, how many steps are you completing every day? If you don't know what this is, start to measure it. Okay. Fitbit, phone, Garmin, Vivo Active, pedometer, doesn't matter. Measure it. What gets measured can get done and can be changed and improved. Okay. You could record the amount of the steps. You could record, obviously, the length of time and how you felt. And we'll discuss about that in a moment or two as well. Okay. The intensity of it. Did it feel like you were short of breath? Did it feel like you were able to hold a conversation and sing, if you like? You know, so, and that's where the intensity comes in. And I'm going to delve into that a little bit in the upcoming slide and further on also. The top part of this slide is simply just about that for some of you, you will be maybe changing things twofold. You may be changing the physical activity element of things, but you may also be adjusting and monitoring food. So I've just put that up there also. And obviously it's just that, you know, maybe those food options are more often, so there's spaces in there to fill that in. But certainly recording and tracking is the important bit. At the bottom of this slide is what you're going to then begin to look at as regards, okay, so I'm going to assess how much I'm doing right now. And the way, as a fitness instructor, we assess that is we use the FIT principle. So it's frequency, intensity, time, and type. What does that mean? It simply asks the question of you as an individual right now, how often are you exercising? Or how often are you active? Be that over a day-long period or a 7-day period, okay? The intensity I'm going to delve into in more detail in a moment or two. What is the intensity of the activity? In other words, are you walking and able to chat to your friend or able to sing a song that you're listening to on the radio? Or are you out of breath, short of breath, breathing rapid, under pressure almost? How long is that activity for? Length of time, 3 by 10 minutes on the day. Maybe it's that you complete, for example, 45 minutes 3 times a week. Okay. And then obviously you record the type of activity that you do. Is it walking? Is it running? Is it gardening? Is it digging? Is it swimming? Is it doing your turbo session at home on the bike? Is it a HIIT session? So that is a guide on, I suppose, helping you to determine and fill out your diary about the detail of what you're doing. This statistic just gives you an idea of where we're at in Ireland, from Ireland Active, on how active are we really. And I suppose the truth about it is that the reality is most of us can all be a little bit more active than what we are right now. So, you know, no, believe me, we're not alone. And we were discussing bits about that before you guys came in on the call. So, you know, we all are participants in this. We all can be more active for sure. Now, I suppose even though some of the next number of slides are basic, simple, straightforward, not complicated. However, I do want people to understand that physical activity is about, you know, everything that you do. Okay. So it's any bodily movement produced by skeletal muscle that basically expends energy. Okay. And you know, the benefits, I mean, are massive. They multiply, they help so much. And like, look, there's a million images online about this, but the reality is at the moment, most of this activity is going to be outdoors, isn't it? They are some of the benefits. I think the reality is that I don't need to spend too much time on this, because I'd like to delve a bit more into the depth about you know, moderate intensity and vigorous intensity, and breaking that down for individuals who are on the call already exercising, wondering, but how much should I do and what should I do? Okay. So what should you do and how much should you do? The basic guidelines are that, you know, we need to be doing at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity. Yes, up to 5 times per week. Now that sounds like a lot for some individuals, I understand. It equates to 150 minutes. How do you break it down, right? How do you break it down? The reality is you can do 3 by 10 minutes. Okay, so that is the break from the desk. That is the break from the desk today because I'm working all day. But tomorrow, that might be that I could, for example, go for a 20-minute walk. Okay. So you break it down in the way that it fits best for you. Just to also highlight here that the top part of this slide could also be complete 10,000 steps most days of the week. That is the other way in which you are covering the bases, if you like, in completing sufficient activity to maintain your overall health and wellness. And I suppose to maintain, that is really important to maintain, okay? If you have other aspirations as regards maybe changing body shape, getting fitter, becoming more lean, changing muscle mass, the engagement and how much you need to do actually needs then to change in intensity or to increase in time. The bottom one is that, you know, if you're doing more vigorous activity, if you have a base of fitness already where you already can complete, for example, a gentle jog or, you know, a cycle, you're used to doing your 5K, your 3K, whatever it is, you could structure that 150 minutes of at least 25 minutes of vigorous activity 3 days per week, but bearing in mind that the total here is 75 minutes. But the difference is that this intensity is different because it's vigorous. Thereby, the energy expenditure is greater, which will transfer or equate to similar amounts of the moderate intensity aerobic activity. We're going to look at examples of these now and just see what you could complete to complete this 150 minutes, or be it as a minimum, that 150 minutes or the 75 minutes. There are loads of options. You know what they are right now. We don't have, gyms open or places to go to do this. So largely it's outdoors, isn't it? Walking, gardening, hiking, dancing, swimming, active recreation, cycling, they're all there. That's what's available to us right now. And just bearing in mind that moderate will mean that you can hold a conversation. Your breathing is continuous. You're not under pressure. And, if you were with somebody, you could have a great conversation while you're doing it. So that's what moderate means. If you're questioning what you're doing right now and wondering, what intensity is it? So how you assess that is connected with your breathing rate, how much you can speak, and generally, and there's another little bit on this in a minute or two as well. So that's what moderate simply means. Conversation, breathing is comfortable, and the effort is moderate. When it comes to more vigorous activity, vigorous is basically where your effort has increased. And I'm going to talk about really what effort is all about also in a minute. Walking with a backpack, maybe up a hill, fast cycling over a short period of time, swimming, maybe lengths of the pool, though rather than maybe just going up and down once or twice when they are open again, that is. Jogging, running, be it heavy digging in the garden or being quite vigorous in your gardening efforts, if you like. Maybe it's just getting ready the beds for next year, the year ahead rather. So the signs of vigorous activity are that basically that your breathing rate is more rapid. You wouldn't be able to hold a conversation definitely with your friend. You might say a few words, but you probably wouldn't be going into the most deep conversation. So now, from moderate and vigorous, from the activity that you currently do right now, you will understand where you're at. And the next bit of that then is that we know what vigorous is. And this last slide here is a tool that I think, particularly if you're just building your routine, is really important. So this is rate of perceived exertion. So if you've never seen this before, it might simply be because you've never worked one-to-one with somebody on a physical activity session or whatever, or you haven't been in a group activity session where somebody used it. Because certainly the people I know and the way I work, I use this all the time. This is essential for you to make sure that when you're engaging in activity and completing it, that you complete it at the level that's most appropriate. If you're a beginner and you're not even completing 30 minutes of activity on a couple of days a week, you need to remember that you need to keep your intensity and your effort level lower in order for you to adapt and to make sure that you don't get injured. So if I was to say to you on your walk today that you did for 20 minutes, how were you? How did it feel? What was your effort? What would your answer be? So if you were to say to me, well, you know what, I was fine. I could have chatted away for hours. I could have kept going for hours. So you rate then maybe, you know what, I felt about, on your scale, I feel about a 2 or a 3. Okay, so that's light activity. What would that probably tell me would be that I'd probably encourage you then, for example, to increase, for example, your intensity a little bit in order, first of all, to simply get a little bit more from what you're doing. So maybe it's just that you have to walk a little bit faster. Maybe you have to change your route. So you can see here that the green level is moderate activity, okay? And moderate activity is where you build a beginner exercise program from. Okay, so that on an overall scale of 1 to 10, that you feel a 4, a 5. And if you continue doing it, bearing in mind that you were doing 20 minutes and you're going towards 30 minutes, that yeah, do you know what? Now, towards the end of it, I'm feeling about a 6 out of 10. You can be guaranteed at this level and intensity of effort, yes, that you're building your foundations through the muscles, the joints, and the ligaments. You're building up your overall ability of the heart to basically process energy. So your overall resting heart rate over time will basically decrease, which means that your overall level of fitness is going to increase. And this is where, for example, when you're going for your walk or your light jog or your WOG, you're walking a bit of a jog, yeah, that's where you're looking for it to fall into in order for you to be more active towards 150 minutes in the week. Okay. Now, there may be people on the call, though, that have a foundation of fitness already and are going, do you know what? I'm able for going for that run or that fast cycle intermittently, you know, maybe not every day or maybe every other day. So you might say, you know what, I only go for 20 minutes or 25 minutes, but cheapers, yeah, I'm breathing heavily. I'm a bit uncomfortable. I wouldn't be able now to talk to anybody else. Like, do you know? So you'd probably say, yeah, it felt a 7. Cheapers is nearly an 8. Do you know, out of 10. Presto, you're in vigorous there. You're achieving, you're building on your fitness level. So how you break down your 150 minutes can be your 5 days of 30. It can be completing 10,000 steps. If you're starting at 5,000, you start at 5,000 and you increase 10% maybe. And you build on 10% more every week. So that by maybe the end of, for example, 6 weeks or 8 weeks, you have built up towards 10,000 steps per day, because that's what is recommended in World Health Organization guidelines. I have anchored in on this particular slide on basically the moderate activity and the vigorous activity. I'm going to let, you know, if you want to go back through the slides to look at the others, ideas. How do we get more active? Options. They're there. There's no surprises. There's none. You know, this is what we have at the moment. This is what we can do. We don't have anything else. You know, however, the guys are going to talk to you about many of the other Cork Sports Partnership options that are there and available to you to do. But, you know, largely, I've just broken it down into moderate or vigorous. However, you know, these could intermingle also on options. But there are, you know, many ideas to get you started there. That completes my slides, but I'm going to let maybe Claire or Owen maybe discuss, I suppose, the many different sports partnership options on how you can be more active.
Thanks, Bridget. There's loads of options out there. People know how important it is to exercise and how to keep active, but I suppose we just wanted to really bring it back to basics and almost go back to a lot of the information that people aren't getting or that they're being misled about. And it really is just bringing it back to basics. Bridget highlighted a number of programs and she mentioned one or two throughout her presentation that she's involved with us on Project Weight Loss. It's a 12-week, I suppose, physical activity program with obviously, you know, healthy eating guidelines on how to lose weight if that is your goal. And it's very interactive. Obviously, it's being delivered online at the moment. But we ran a very successful round of programs before Christmas where we were able to do a blended approach. So people were able to kind of go outside, then they were indoors, and then they kind of did a bit online. First one up there, Men on the Move. If you just want to get started with a very easy introduction to physical activity, then it's really interactive. It's very social. All of these programs here are on our website and you see all the details across there in terms of how to access the information. Women on the Move, for any ladies that are on here, again, a really nice introduction into activity. It's 6 weeks. It kind of goes into, it's delivered via Zoom, and it's literally focusing on a lot of the information Bridget would have been going through in terms of just getting active and using weights, using your body weight, and done from the comfort of your own home as well. Healthy Food Made Easy. I know Owen has kicked off a few of those as well for anyone that kind of wants to to brush up on kind of healthy eating along with their physical activity routine. Again, delivered by community tutors, but it was designed by community dietitians. So it's standard, it's quality information, and again, it's basic. It's coming back to kind of basic information around healthy eating. The Cara movement plan and the yoga for all are on our website as well. And for anyone, I suppose, or any family members that have a disability or a learning disability, it's fantastic. And you can do it with your family as well. So there's 2 really good programs that you can get involved in and follow along at home. And lastly, Staying Fit for the Future is an online program at the moment, again, but it's for older adults, technically 50 plus, 55 plus, whatever you want to call it. Really nice program. Bridget also delivers that. And we are accepting some new participants. If you know anyone, or if yourself wanted to join that program, again, all of the information for all of these programs is available on the website. And you can subsequently book or register for any of these via our website, and the information to those is there on the right hand side of the screen as well.